Hello, Brawl Hub YouTube. My name is TitanLord, and I am here with our Season 8 champion, HAzor. HAzor, how you doing today?
Pretty good, you?
HAzor, you have won our most recent Brawl Hub League tournaments, finishing first place, conquering some of the best decks in the meta, conquering Atraxa, dodging the tempo matchup, beating some surprising matchups that I don't think anybody was expecting, being one of two alternates who made it to finals, which is the first time that this has ever happened in the league. We've never had two alternates make it to the very, very end, and you proved that even though you didn't make the initial top 8 roster, you were better than all of them that day, and that's what matters. I need to mention as well, HAzor, you're only 16, is this correct?
That is correct.
That makes you, I believe, the youngest person competing in the league. We all
There
got
might be
swept up,
someone else. Yeah, I don't know.
maybe, but regardless, we all just got swept up by a teenager. And that doesn't speak against us, but that speaks more to you. Somebody your age playing this well with players at the skill level that you're playing with. Is there some good players in our league, and you're keeping up with the best of the best. You're a lot younger, and you have like less life experience and stuff than the rest of us. So seeing you taking home the W at a tournament like this it's a big deal. It's a big deal. You should be proud of it. Going
I am.
into how do you feel? What is it like to win to be a champion now? How have you
Uh,
has it settled in your brain yet?
yeah, it feels pretty good. I didn't really expect it, honestly.
Yeah.
But now that I've done it, I joined the league back in like season two
Mm-hmm.
with the same deck, the Raw deck, and it was a lot less optimized than it was now. Yeah, I had it because I basically ran play queue with it and had a very good success and was considering going into competitive. So when I found the league, that's what I did, and I've had the goal of at least bringing Raw to the top 8 for a while, and then I finally got to do it, and then actually won this time. So that's very cool.
Yeah, you had a previous season where you qualified for top 8. You finished second place. I don't remember which season it was.
It's like 3 or 4, I believe,
Yeah,
something like
but
that.
you qualified for top 8, but weren't for whatever reason you weren't able to play that day. Correct? Is the only reason you
Correct. I
didn't?
don't remember why, but yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
make it.
but you finished second that season, which is an impressive feat. And then you came back this season, made it in as an alternate, got a little bit lucky, two people couldn't play, but
Yep.
you won the whole thing. So congratulations! It's an amazing accomplishment. I do have a question. Why Ral specifically? What draws you to Ral? What draws you to? Is it as a color combination? Can you speak on that?
Yeah. I personally love Izzet. Partially, I love physics in real life, and Izzet is basically magic physics, I guess. But also, I just like the explosiveness, but with like something kind of unique, like with all the spells and stuff. So I love Izzet, and Raw is the best way to do something explosive but fun on Arena, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And so I built that, and I'm stuck with it for a while.
Yeah, Izzet can do. I think Izzet is kind of surprising to see an Izzet deck performing this well in the league because like blue black have always been the two dominant colors, and to see Izzet, there were two Izzet decks this tournament, and one of them won, doing some absolutely nasty things to some of your opponents.
Yep.
Infinite combos and stuff that will and copying extra turns and stuff we'll get into later in this interview. But it was some impressive stuff. It looked like a very fun deck to pilot. I want to go into what do you think the strengths are for Rao that allows it to compete in an environment like this?
Uh, Strengths of Raw. Hmm. I feel like, well, the main gameplay of the deck is that you get to play all of the cheap control spells and then have a top end that your opponent needs to interact with or they lose the game.
Yeah.
That's effectively it. So if you can control your opponent's early game and then resolve something, then you effectively just like win the game on the spot with your advantage. Um, that's why Rawl's like worst matchups are tempo, because tempo can deploy its early game and either you can't fight it or they will stop your game plan. So that's why tempo is Rawl's worst matchup in my opinion. I was lucky to dodge that Tamio deck in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's probably full control, just because you don't get to do anything.
Nope.
which is why the ban
Yeah,
of Let's Go Reffian and Teferi really
yeah.
helped the deck.
Rafine, Resco, Teferi, the three decks that Ral never wants to see, are now no longer a part of the league, and I mean, gave you some breathing room.
Yep.
Clearly gave you some breathing room, allowing you to play in this top eight and absolutely dominate it. Uh, what was your deck building process like? Did you kind of know what matchups you were looking at seeing before the tournament started? Because that, like me and maybe some other players, we kind of like figure out who we think we might play against first because there's some math that you can do. I'm wondering, did you do any of that? Did you try to figure out who your round one was going to be, or did you just wing it? How did the deck building go? How did you know how to pick what card specifically for the tournament would be a good fit? How did that process go?
So, when I was teching, I thought that Herbert Hay, who was on Bolas Godpharaoh, would be the first player, and that I would be the last player. Neither of those happened, but I thought I was going to face him. And partially with that is that I've played against his deck list in a previous week, and I don't think that matchup is a matchup we're all going to win. So I was looking at the losers bracket and seeing what decks the other people were all playing. And when I was looking at all of them, there was like 3 or 4 people that had historically played aggro decks in the past. I know in the past like weeks, and then Myriad said in the Discord that that he wanted to play a deck that he could play at 4 a.m. So I assumed that would be some kind of aggro deck also.
I
And so what I did is I swapped a few of the slower cards for like faster counter spells, better draw, or I put in an offer you can't refuse, which is a card I don't like,
Me too.
but can ramp me against aggro and maybe stop any kind of control interaction. So yeah,
Yeah, well,
first I attacked against aggro.
it obviously paid off, and I don't think your obviously the brackets didn't go quite how anybody thought they would because we had two drops, not just one.
Yeah,
We ended up playing the first round. I had a little bit of problems, but more accurately, you absolutely swept me and knocked me out of winner's bracket immediately. Then went on to beat Atraxa, which I think should have been a tough matchup for you. Not
it was.
unwinnable, obviously not unwinnable, but tough at the very least. And then Myriad playing um, Azusa. You just said it. A Myriad playing Azusa, which might be difficult for you.
It's definitely difficult actually. It's more difficult than I thought it would be.
I didn't
So,
think it would be too hard for you because mono green can't interact with you at all, and you can combo mono green out
well,
before
the,
they
the
could
funny
finish
thing
you over.
about that is that Azusa ramps so fast that they'll get the Eldrazi out and destroy your lands. That I was playing against, I'm not fine. I was playing some practice matches, and I was getting a land destruction half the
Oh
time. Like,
no!
this is how this deck plays. I see. So yeah, this with the Azusa matchup, I have to counter Azusa turn 2 is usually the easiest way to win the game. And I was very lucky because I put reject the counter spell. It's like
I like
counter
reject.
creature planeswalker unless
Yeah.
its controller plays 3 into the deck for this tournament, thinking I would be able to snipe something against Bolas, but it ended up working against you because it's great against Croxa,
uh,
against Myriads. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I wasn't a overperformer.
Yeah. I would have to agree on the overperforming aspect, and then we can get into your final match, which was against Gennaro playing a Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephilia, mono
Yep.
black aggro deck. Another deck that I didn't think this deck was good at all. I saw this person play that deck in week one, and I'm like, doesn't look that appealing. And then they 3-0'd, and I'm like, that deck is real, and everybody should respect it. Well, clearly nobody else respected it because you took that finals game pretty easily.
Yeah, it's not anything about the opponent's deck really. Like Gennaro did very well with that deck. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a good deck. The thing is, mono black aggro when it does not run all the hand hate pieces is not a matchup that Raw loses. Because in red you get all the cheap removal, so I can just
Yeah.
like they tap 2, play Jadar, bolts, tap whatever 1-drop, bolts. It's just not winnable for the mono black player.
Yeah, the lack of hand interaction from Jadar really kind of sealed that matchup. I
Yeah,
think I would have to agree with you there. Them not being able to interact with you and also not being fast enough to run you over, like say maybe like an aggro deck like Adeline. Is very resilient and will still just bulldoze you,
yeah,
and you'll have a hard time removing a lot of its threats because that's like the strength of mono white is that it has a lot of ways to protect itself and it's very durable. Um, but then something like Ragavan or Jadar, something that can be more aggressive, but not so aggressive. Like these decks
Yeah,
don't rebuild well. Like
yeah,
Adeline can attack into Ral, and Ral has to find the right removal spell. But against Jadar, you just need to find a removal spell, which I
yeah.
think is a big difference in those matchups. And I think that really helped you in that final. That and your opponent not having a lot of hand hate was kind of
Yeah.
unfortunate for them, because that final, I don't remember how well you remember playing that final, but I rewatched it earlier. Who that was they weren't close games. They
No,
weren't
not at
super
all.
close games at all. So you absolutely ran away with it in the finals. Were you feeling confident going into the finals?
I would say so. I don't know. I was definitely like thinking like I get removal and this game is practically done. There's one
Yeah.
time in the game, if you look at my POV, you see me reading Jarl of the Forsaken because I did not realize it destroyed Planeswalkers for that matchup.
uh, yeah.
So I'm like, alright, I can slam Raw and they'll have to spend 4 mana and it's like, huh, no. And I'm like, oh, interesting. But yeah, I was pretty confident going into that one more than the other ones.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you won some tough matchups. You definitely earned it.
Yep.
I want to talk about specifically some tournament highlights. I'm going to swap screens here real quick. All right, sorry about that. We're gonna move over, just a little difficulty. Move over to this match right here that you should be seeing on your screen. If not, I'll probably put it in post. But we have a moment, probably one of the defining moments of Ral as a deck. You are against Inkheart. This is round 2, winner side. I think this is game. No, they beat you game
It's
1.
game two.
So
Yeah.
this is
They
game
both had
2.
heavy misplays game one, but
Mm-hmm.
taking out on top on that one.
So going into game 2, we get to see, and I wanted to point this out. This is why in my opinion, what makes Ral so good, or at least partially. Ral has this ability to not just play this grindy value kind of control-ish game. It'll just combo kill you, and you won't really see it coming sometimes, and there's nothing you can do about it. You cast the Galvanic Iteration, get it copied, and then you're going to cast the Increasing Vengeance. Do you want to kind of walk through this combo?
Yes, I have done this. I've walked through this so many times on different Discord servers. Basically, for this combo, you have to first activate Raw of the Mines 2, cast Galvanic Iteration. You don't actually have to hold full control for this because the Increasing Vengeance or Expansion will hold priority for you, which I find kind of nice. But
Mm-hmm.
so basically, the Galvanic Iteration will copy. You have to resolve the copy, but not the original, which is a quirk. You can resolve the damage triggers, the initial ones if you want. It's not necessary. And so with the one Galvanic Iteration remaining on the stack, you have to cast Increasing Vengeance or Explosion, targeting the Galvanic Iteration, which should be the only target. And then the resolved Galvanic Iteration triggers copies the expansion or Increasing Vengeance, which you target the original one with, that's targeting the Galvanic. And so that will make another copy of Increasing Vengeance, which you target the original one with again, repeat, for infinite roll damage pings.
Yeah, it's a very, very powerful and fairly mana efficient game winning combo as well, as long as your
Really.
commander is out.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
only issue.
this is just a quick little fun fact. You have a Calamax EDH deck, correct?
Correct.
As a fellow partaker in the Calamax lifestyle, this kind of combo, because Ral hits, I think it's each opponent, right? Or
Yep.
target opponent.
No, target.
It doesn't
It
matter
doesn't
because
matter
it's
though with
infinite.
Infinite.
It's still an infinite combo. This is an amazing way to close games in your EDH pods as well. For anybody wondering, EDH has a larger card pool. You have things like Twin Cast and OG Fork, and there's Reverberate is the other one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, even more copies of the kind of fork spells that you want. So just for anybody interested, it's a very good win condition for like some casual EDH fun. Let me swap back over to. Okay.
That's part of the reason why I started playing Raw,
Mhm.
actually. I had the Calmax deck before Raw, and
Mhm.
then that was like, I want a spell copy in Arena too.
Yeah, it's fun. Um I use your deck on queue sometimes if I ever want to play, because I like playing Rao, because Rao reminds me of Calamax as well. But I don't ever have the time to build Rao, so last couple times I decided to put Raul together for Historic Brawl. I just copied your list and played that. It's a very fun deck.
That's great.
I would recommend Raul to anybody who wants to just try something different. It doesn't really play like other decks. Like, it doesn't play like
No,
any other control deck. It doesn't play like most of the combo decks
it's a deck
in
you
the
have to
format.
learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I rebuilt the deck after a couple of months of League because I had, in my words, over optimized it. I cut too much top end for too much removal, and I couldn't find any win cons. And so after I rebuilt the deck, I actually started misplaying a lot, and I needed to kind of relearn how the deck played.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anybody who would want to try Raul either in the league or just in play queue, kind of learning from your own experience? Just like you said, over optimizing.
Uh, yeah, I guess my main advice would be learn the matchups because matchups are the make or break point of any Brawl game. You got certain hands you can keep against aggro, certain hands you can keep against control, and if you keep the wrong one, you're just screwed. The
Yeah.
other thing is that learn your tutor targets. There's a lot of tutoring happening in a roll deck, and whether you're tutoring for a counter spell, a combo, an extra turn, or a crackle with power is one of my favorite things in the deck. Uh, you got to know when to tutor for what and what's going to win you the game.
All right, you heard it from the man himself. One more quick thing. How long is this going? We are on kind of a time crunch. Do you have any other tournament highlights or some unexpected moments that you wanted to talk about before we get ready to wrap this up?
I think I wanted to mention before the combo clip, like a few seconds before that,
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of extra turns. Oh yeah, I copied two Alrun's Epiphanies, and then on the
Nasty.
first turn, I had combo in hand, and I suspected Inkart might be holding up some kind of counterspell which foils the combo, and so I actually overloaded the Mizzix Mastery on the first turn to bait out any counter magic that they had, and then that's why I didn't immediately go for it on the first turn. Instead, on the second turn is when
Mm-hmm.
I won the game. So this is just the kind of things you learn when playing the deck.
Yeah, the kind of insane power of being able to copy a spell like Allrun's Epiphany for basically no man on the same turn is such a
Yeah.
powerful. Like in my experience, the random HAzor deck or HAzor deck, the random Ral deck that I occasionally but fairly rarely run into in play queue because Ral's not super common in play queue for Historic Brawl. Usually once I've in my experience, once the extra turn spell, it doesn't really matter which one gets copied, you kind of just lose right there.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for maybe playing against Ral?
Yeah. Well, the Raw deck's biggest strength is having Raw on the field. If you can keep Raw off the field, you're doing very well already. Is the main thing. Sometimes it can outvalue you without it though, with things like unexpected windfall ramping into something else. I guess the main advice to Raw is you either have to be faster with it or counter everything it does, and there's really nothing in between.
All
Or
right,
also
all
land
right.
destruction. That's the thing with Biozu's in that deck. If I don't have mana, I can't do anything.
Yeah, that makes any I think any blue deck once a couple of its lands get blown up, you just kind of go, well, I can't do anything now. But that's just a lot of Magic decks in general.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have, for reals, my last question. Are there any commanders that you're thinking about trying out either for the play queue or in the lead? You got anything you're kind of brewing? What other decks do you like to
Uh,
enjoy when you're not playing Ral? And is
well,
it possible we see more in the future?
I'll probably bring that role at some point. I'm not sure if I'm gonna try something different or not now that the tournament's done with that. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring something else, maybe I won't. It'll probably be something. Is it? In the play queue though, I run things all over the place. Lonus, Ashnod, Unesh, Sphinx Tribal, draw your whole deck. That's a fun one.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, just a ton of random things that are definitely not competitively viable.
Yeah, sounds like a load of fun.
Yeah,
All right. Well, this has been it. This has been the interview. I hope everybody watching enjoyed. You getting to hear from the champ
thank you,
himself.
viewers.
Alrighty then. HAzor, Season 8, Brawl Hub League Tournament Champion. And do you have anything else you would like to say before we go?
Probably not. Have a good day, anyone watching.
Alrighty then. You all have a good one. Remember to like and subscribe. All that fun stuff. There's going to be a ton more content coming for the Brawl Hub channel. We got a whole bunch of no ban stuff going on right now, and it's a ton of fun. You should come check it out. HAzor is going to continue to compete in the league. If you want to come check his matches out, if they make it onto YouTube, you can come find it right here. This is the spot to do it. And with that, we will see you guys later.
Goodbye.